I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, August the 30th, and we're telling bye-bye to August here, and we're kind of glad to see it go. Get on into some fall months where there's a little more activity going on. We'll get back into some college football, and if you guys are still watching pro football after what has been going on there, you might enjoy some of that too. But tailgating and grilling demand is kind of back as the weather kind of calms down a little bit and the heat subsides some. We did see some moisture in places that needed it through August. The Southern Plains had good moisture throughout the month, spotty here and there, but those guys have been keeping those wheat fields plowed up and soaking up that moisture, and they'll be planting, sowing wheat here in the next few days really. And there should be enough ground moisture to get it up. Now after that we don't know, but pretty high grazing prospects right now anyway. But we also saw some rain in some of the driest areas that had been suffering through drought there up in the heartland, and probably too late for the corn in those places, probably too late for the pastures, but the beans did green up a little bit and look a little better. But there's a lot of places that weren't too dry to make corn, and going to be another bumper crop as far as yield estimates are going, they say anyway. So looking pretty good. We've kind of been in a down market here all through August, and it hasn't been as bad as what we thought it might be when we were looking at it back this past spring. But you know, we've been in a down market, and it really hasn't seemed that way, because every time we thought that the bottom was falling out of the fat cattle market, something would happen and it would kind of spring back a little bit, but it's been slowly slipping away from us. Your feeder cattle market hadn't seemed like a down market because the farmer feeders got so aggressive, especially after that bearish crop report, and we're looking like we're going to have plenty of grains to go around, and even for export and everything. The prices are fairly well depressed there, so those guys have been getting very aggressive and giving some really impressive prices on those and keeping the averages boosted up there. Let's look at the board for Wednesday, October live cattle futures up a quarter to end the day at 108.70. Look at August spot live cattle late in the month here, up $1.37 at 109.17, and we were looking at possibly giving up another dollar or so on the fat trade this week. Of course, we haven't established anything, and we may yet. But still, with your spot August there all the way up there at $1.917, maybe we can hold steady, or maybe steady to a buck lower somewhere around 108. But this thing's fixing to turn around, guys, and I think we're starting to get in to where this market's coming to us a little bit. As we work through these big numbers of market-ready cattle, we still got some of the best demand, especially for export, that we've seen in a long time. But you look at it, December sitting at 112.70 on Wednesday's close. February 116.55, and April's always the highest. It's sitting at 117.55. So this deal's starting to come to us a little bit. Look at feeder cattle contracts. October CME contracts down 2 cents at 149.40. Your August spot also down 2 cents at 149.32, and go out to November sitting at 149.42. So all those months of feeder cattle contracts trading within a dime of each other. And you know, that may sound very insignificant, but the way I look at it, it is significant. As we get into fall, the November is staying that close to your August and October contracts, because normally whenever you start seeing those calves come to town, and the weight of those calves, no pun intended, but the weight of those calves coming into the market really depresses prices. Normally, always, as a lot of those cattle, your smaller producers will start bringing them the ballers in October. There's a lot of cattle been sold on a video and private contract that'll start shipping in October and November, and it will clog up a lot of holes. But with that price staying up there as well as it is, and I know that's for a big feeder steer weighing 800 pounds, but still a lot of those calves will weigh 800 pounds, and they always weigh on the demand for feeder cattle. But But holding up that well and that close to what our summer market's been, that bodes pretty well. And I think we're going to see good demand for lightweights throughout the fall, especially with the grazing prospects we got right now, and really see some good demand for lightweight calves as we get into the spring. But look at the fat cattle, and we haven't seen any trade so far this week. Of course, really just a little smattering here and there up in Iowa and Nebraska, which they always sell a few here and there, the independents do. And a lot of that's to regional packers, and we have yet to establish a price. Your Fed Cattle Exchange offered 750 head on Wednesday morning there. Didn't get one sold, or no POs. It was really hard to tell anything there, but Iowa so far has sold about 4,700 head from 107 to 108.50, which would be $1 to $2 lower. And Nebraska sold about 1,000 at 107, which would be sure be lower, and a little bit of dress trade at 170. But a lot of those early week sales are kind of lower grading cattle, maybe with some Heffrets on them, some cheaters, and some things like that. So not the fanciest rigs in town, and they'll get those sold close to the market earlier in the week as the packers are trying to establish things lower. But you look at an auction market, has a pretty good run of fat cattle fairly regularly. There is Mitchell, South Dakota. Had some mixed fats on Wednesday. 52 head of them weighed 1423 at 107.10, so that's in there pretty tight. Look at your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on Beef Market Central. Late in the day on Wednesday at 147.72, down 185 without any real high-end Northern Plains markets in the middle of the week to hold that thing up, and it was pretty well dominated by Southern Plains sales, as it's just kind of quiet as we start drifting in here to the holiday weekend. But OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 6,100 head this week, and about 1,500 I think from Tuesday for the calf sale. The balance was yearling feeders on Wednesday. Your feeder steers mostly steady, up to $2 lower, instances as much as $2 lower, but mostly steady. Feeder heifers fully steady. The calves on Tuesday were mostly steady, so nobody really wanting to push the market one way or the other, and just kind of filling orders and getting enough commission to cover expenses there. But in that El Reno run, you look here at an individual quote, 165 head of steers in El Reno. In the ring weighed 768 at $152. That's plenty good right there, especially in the Southern Plains. You look up north there, an individual quote, Albion, Nebraska had a load of heifers, 64 head of them, weighed 746 at $150 even. That's a pretty good clip on a feeder heifer deal. And then the last individual quote I'll give you, Winter Livestock in Dodge City, Kansas, sold 63 head of steers there, 743 pounds at $158.10, and that's an impressive quote there in Dodge City. But going to take a little break here from the feeder flash and the cattle market summary for a couple of days, and give me a little extra time here on the Labor Day holiday weekend to play a little golf and bet on the ponies, and do a little honky-tonkin', if you will. So we'll be back with you on the next feeder flash, which will be Tuesday after Labor Day, and you guys all have a good weekend.